Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us. We will tell about this project called the Tasteful Turntable. And we are Lars and Nikolaj, two brothers. We are also two composers who are both deeply engaged in the search for a multisensory cross-modal language of expression. Like, can we integrate extra musical elements such as smell, taste, touch in the score, each like notes and a voice that can play a counterpoint to the sounds used, or in unison? As a counterpoint or in unison, what does that actually mean? That's what we are exploring. When we open up the palette, so we can paint colors across all senses, this open for an explosion of possibilities. This project is a study of the possibilities and the complications, because there are quite some of those as well, of creating music for the tongue and the ears. This may seem like a strange choice at first, but at the end of this talk, you will have a better insight into our motivation, our goals, and the results that came out of it. Next. Would we have chosen to compose a music for the ears? No, for the ears and the eyes. There would have been an abundance of media for audiovisual coordination, down to the millisecond to choose from. We're giving this very talk using an audiovisual medium, and we would have loved to be there with you, because something happens in the full sensory interaction that cannot be mediated only through sound and image. Despite this obvious fact, there is, to put it mildly, not an abundance of media allowing for similar composition of other cross-modal expression. So we had to create one by ourselves. And as you see here, we started with the idea of the record player as a tool for timing and coordination. The basic idea was that we would replace the groove of sound from the record player with a group of taste that could be synchronized with a track of music. And so we made basically a record player, but we made it much bigger so that it could be used as a dining table with 4 people seated around it. And then we also made it spin much slower. There's something about the sense of taste that that reacts in a different tempo than the sense of listening. As the tastes then approached you on the spinning table, the lights in the corners of the table would blink, as you also will see in a video example later, and that's the moment that people should take the bite into the mouth in order to fit to the composition. Next. So here you see the building process. So we welded the frame so we could take it on tour and be taken apart for transport. We cut the tabletops, and Giulia Crispiani, a ceramic artist, designed custom-made small plates for each bite to be eaten. We programmed the spinning table using microcomputers, controlling a belt drive and the lights that could blink in synchronization with the sounds. Next. And then it came to the interesting part, the top of the table, which the audience engaged with. The surface that should lead them to interact in the right tempo to experience the composition just right. And here you see different attempts. When 4 people sit around the table, how would they know which food are for them and in what order to take them? And how can they prepare the food in good time to take it into the mouth just at the right moment? And how to make this intuitive so they wouldn't go down with stress on the way. And what you see here is that we tried with different shapes and colors. Next. So here you see one early attempt. where we used only powdery foods. The 4 people seated around the table had each one groove, not a sound groove, but a taste groove, and they used chopsticks to eat, and the red line showed the moment of interaction. We dreamed of making a continuous stream of taste over the tongue, just like sound can run as a continuous stream into the ears. But can we actually interact with the mouth that way? This is still a dream and a question we haven't fully solved yet. How can we make this continuous stream of controlled taste, and how can we put it into the mouth of the audience without it feeling like an assault? So if you have good ideas, we would love to hear them. Next. So we ended up finding this spiral quite intuitive. And also we like the connotations of the vinyls. Here is a design, or actually multiple designs with various numbers of places for small plates. One for each bite of the food. Next. This is how it came to look in the end. We made 3 tables to allow for a total amount of 12 people to interact with the music for ears and mouth. After all, we went away from the idea of the powdery tastes and asked Augusta Sørensen, who you see in the middle of this picture, to design a composition of flavors prepared as single bites that could be eaten along the sound composition. She also prepared them freshly during each show, live in an open kitchen next to the audience. Next.
Yes, and I guess that's me. This is a picture of me tasting several different powdery tastes. This is from the first project that we just saw a picture of. And what I'm doing at the same time is noting how long every sound endures in the mouth, and what envelope it follows, how it evolves over time in the mouth. And this was very much the approach that we took to this project from the get-go, and it came very much from this idea of powdered food, an idea that we could isolate taste as an isolated phenomenon, different from things like consistency and temperature or the mood, and then we would play it in enclosed headphones in order to play isolated sounds. So we would only have this direct connection between sound and the taste. And I still think it was a very conceptually strong concept, but there was some issue with it. The good thing was that I could make this sort of dictionary of how at least I experienced the taste and flavor difference. Try to take the next slide, please. Yeah. So here's a little bite of it, and you can see like I have these descriptions of every sound, and then I have a little curve next to it that tells how long time it endures, and then I will have a little description of what I think it sounded like. The top one says a rounded sound in a high frequent mid-range, rounded towards the ending, but apart from that, constant. and it durates 10 seconds with a peak at around 3 seconds. So this is kind of the approach that I took to all the different sounds, and I believed honestly that I could make a sort of direct link, and then I could just make a composition that would be completely in unison with the taste. And I think it was somewhat successful, at least for me it was. I mean, obviously all of these things are very subjective and hard to make general statements about, but our experience was that people had similar experience to what I had myself when listening and tasting these things. The issues that came up with this was that this experience was not very pleasant, to say the least. One of the movement was that they were given pepper directly on the tongue, and then the concept of the piece was that I would try to give the audience every 10 seconds something that would dampen the taste of the pepper until it was completely gone. It was sort of an attempt to make a decrescendo over the entire thing. So you would start with the most loud thing, and then it would try to dampen this and have these kind of spikes. So it would the first thing you would get would be just a little bit of sugar that would instantly kill the taste of pepper, and then the pepper would like gradually come in again, and then you would get something else that would dampen it, a little bit of flour, and I think it was a very strong experience, but also extremely unpleasant, especially because the audience was sitting with headphones on, and they were giving these small powdery taste portions directly on the tongue, and they had no way to knowing what they were getting into the mouth before the second that was touching their tongue. And I have a feeling that some of our audience found it a little bit abusive, honestly. And at some point we also thought that this was interesting, and we had all of these musical ideas, like as Lars mentioned, how can you make a counterpoint, or how can you make a crescendo or decrescendo, or how can you make rhythm, or can you make harmony with taste, and all of these. But it was all coming from a music perspective. I mean, our background is obviously from music and from sound, and the idea was like, okay, we have all of these great things in sound and music. Can we somehow translate that to food? But we never had the idea like, okay, we have all of these great things within the world of foods or tastes. How can we translate that into music? And this was point of departure for our second table, the one that you saw a picture of in the end, where we made this collaboration with two chefs, Mette Martinussen and Augusta Sørensen, to make the food part a little bit more professional. So please take next slide. And one of the first things that they told us was like, you cannot reduce food to a taste sensation as little as you can reduce music to a sound sensation. I mean, it is more complex than just pure taste. And that was like that was interesting to work with, because they was like sort of insisting on everything should be food that tastes good or tastes interesting or have these attributes that we normally link to food, such as consistency and temperature and the way things layer, that you taste something first and then in a bite you get something else, and the complexity just got completely out of hand compared to this already quite complex dictionary that I had made.
Right, that's the explosion of possibilities.
Exactly, complete explosion of possibilities, and what we realized was that we had to start out this this combination from scratch by making these very simple small experiments. And the first experiment was if we could at all play a sound that would make people taste something in a different way. And if you take the next slide, please. So that was what was ended up being the first movement. We call it movement. These different parts in the composition, which was the same composition of onions 4 times, and the chefs had focused on making something that would be sweet and acidy and fat and crispy in one bite. And then I made 4 sounds of what I attempted to be a fat and a sweet and an acidy and a crisp sound. And people experienced all kind of different things when they heard these 4 sounds. Not exactly what I attempted always, but the important thing was that there was actually a difference in the way they perceived the taste when they heard the different sounds. But please go to the next slide and play the video. So this is the first sound. Second sound. Third sound. And the fourth. So I mean, this was yeah, that was that movement, and I mean, I had this second last one, the one with the very high pitched notes, was the acidy one, but there were so many different. Some people found that this taste got sweeter. Some found it got just more disgusting all around. If you could just go one slide back, if that's possible. Yeah, one more. One more. Slide back the other way. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, there we go. You can see that this is Andreas Bundgaard, who made these visualizations of each movement, and you can see the third sound. That's the second from the bottom. The onions almost looks like they're rotten and smelly, because he thought that was such an awful sound to have with the onion. So that's one way to experience it. Anyway, please go 2 slides the other way again, forward. Yeah, there we go. So this is the second movement, and that was sort of the same idea. We would just try the opposite thing. So there would be like these four sounds that would be exactly the same. It would just be like a sort of forest sounds. That would be some be a high complexity. That would be some high pitch chirps of birds. There would be noise from a river. There would be some low roaming in the forest floor and all of this, and then that would be played 4 times, and each time it would be played with a different taste. And yeah, the concept was very much just if we could do it the other way around. So please play that. That's the next slide.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, some very, very different tastes. So there was like a little mushroom, a fish, and a glass of sparkling water. I mean, it cannot be more different on like all parameters. And I think that was also pretty successful in the way that people always asked me if it was really the same sound that was played these 4 times. So with these experiments in mind, we can go to the third movement. Lars, would you explain that?
In the next slide.
Yes, please.
Oh yeah, what can be said about the 2 initial experiments were kind of also a warming up for the next to come. It became more and more complex as the composition went on, and here we tried to use a musical form in the third movement of presenting different themes one by one, and then combining them to larger and larger complexities towards the end of the movement. There's just a very short video clip of that of a few seconds in the next slide, please. And what you see here is the synchronization of the audience, which is quite nice to see from an outside, because they eat completely at the same time when the lights blinks. They also almost carry out a choreography together without really thinking of it. Let's have the next movement. Next slide.
And is that back to me? Yes, I guess it is. So this one was a completely different way to look at it, and it was very much about the sound that the food literally makes in itself, because I think that's also very interesting things when you start getting consistency that there will actually be a sound inside your head, and one of the most obvious examples of this is of course the carrot, which has quite a noiseful experience inside your head when you eat it already. So the music for this was like a counterpoint or a accompaniment to the sound that the audience would make themselves. And I think it kind of explains itself if you go to the next slide. Yeah. So that's that was the carrot movement, and it was very effective, and it usually brought a smile to the faces of the audience, which was always very nice. Obviously, leading to the fifth movement.
Right.
Next slide. Is that you, Lars?
And that's me. Yeah, because
Yep.
now we're towards the end of the presentation and also towards the end of the composition with the fifth movement. Each movement was also a way for us to communicate in the team when we had two chefs, two composers, the designer, and like so many people involved. We needed a language to speak together, and so we put down these different 5 different concepts as a basic language to communicate through. The first one can taste actually alter the way we listen, and the second one can sound alter the way we perceive taste. Can we segregate in the third movement a complex taste by pointing it towards it with the individual sounds? The fourth one, can the sound of the food itself, the act of eating, be the starting point of a sound composition? And in the fifth movement here, we used you could say a third element, which is not sound and taste, to be the mediator between us. So we made a little narrative carried out as a poem, and then we interpreted from that narrative, from that poem, we interpreted that in sounds and interpreted that in taste, and then put the two together afterwards to see what would come out of that. And there's an example of that here in the next slide. Next. Right. We had a chance to talk with the audience between each movement to hear their feedback, and that was quite giving us quite a lot also in terms of understanding our own project. We didn't tell them the narrative for this composition, but the fact that we told that there was a narrative made them dream all kinds of weird narratives and stories. And some of them reported that it was really like really cinematic almost to be sitting there very focused in front of the table, just with a top light down, seeing it spinning so slowly, almost like a meditation, and thinking of their own narratives. Next.
I think we are approaching the end, just to mention.
And that's exactly also what this slide is telling, is that it's the end of our presentation. This is just all the people that has been taking part and where we have played it. Thank you so much for listening.